Hi folks, we're going to start with some numbers today. 2527, that's 2,527. That's the number of bills we have seen introduced in the California Legislature this session. As you know, the session started back in December, and we have already seen a number of bills moving through the process here in California. So be on the alert as the California Legislature stays busy. That 2527 number does not include or take into account the number of bills that have actually been already amended, and some more than once. So take consideration that there are a lot of bills being acted on, being pushed through the process, going to hearings, being voted on. The action has started now, and that kind of brings me to something else that the legislature has done in the California State Senate. One of the rules that sort of causes things to normally slow down a bit in March has been suspended by the California State Senate. The California Constitution actually sets out some guidelines, some rules for the legislature to follow as they pass policy, as they make laws. And the California State Constitution requires that when a bill is introduced, there's a 30-day waiting period before that bill can be voted on or heard in a committee, and so or amended. So that provision in the California State Constitution was suspended by the California State Senate. It's a legitimate means by which they can change the rules by which they are governed, and it takes three quarters of the California State Senate to do that, to make those rules go away. And they suspended those rules, and we'll put a link in the comments to where you can listen to that discussion and see the actual vote and see how people voted on that. But the idea is that they are concerned with the restrictions and how the Capitol building is still closed to the public and causing things to slow down in terms of getting their bills passed. The idea is that they would be able to move more quickly and get started early on the legislative procedures that they need to do in order to get bills passed. So that's why they wanted to eliminate the 30-day waiting period so they could get started earlier. Usually things are really crazy in April, but this year it sounds like, and we've already seen there's some craziness starting even now in March. So we would appreciate your prayers for us as we continue to get through a lot of the bills and do work on some. There isn't anything so far this year that directly is going after and targeting private homeschooling. However, there are some bills, as we see pretty much every year, that might have some unintended consequences that might impact private homeschooling, or that have some vague wording that needs to be clarified. So we're working on a couple of things with regard to that, but so far we're grateful that we haven't had anything where it sounds like people are after private homeschooling, and I hope it stays that way. I know that private homeschooling is more on the radar than it has been in years past, so do please pray that we don't see any clear attack on private home education in California, and that it stays with the same level of freedoms that we've had in the past. So appreciate your prayers there. In terms of other legislation that you may know, I know I've been asked a lot about SB 29, so I was just going to talk briefly about that. SB 29 has already been passed and signed into law by the governor. SB 29 actually is a requirement to have the California State Secretary of State send out vote-by-mail ballots in any elections that happened this year. So between now and January 1st of 2022, through the rest of this year, any elections that take place in California, they will be mailing out ballots to voters in California. So any California voter, if there's an election, that California voter is supposed to get a vote-by-mail ballot that would be for them to participate in the election. It doesn't appear at this time that they're requiring that to be the only way you can participate in the election, but it does seem that that requirement will provide a vote-by-mail ballot, or should provide a vote-by-mail ballot to every voter in California. So The other part of it is that the federal government funding for the tracking system is going to be implemented through this bill, SB 29, to provide a way for you to track your ballot so that you know when it's coming to you, you know when it's been received somewhere, you know when it's been counted, things like that. That system is being put into place officially through SB 29. And that, again, was already passed and signed into law by the governor of California. That was signed into law on February 19th. So we'll have to wait and see how that all plays out, how it actually works out in practice. Now, with regard to what elections that would affect through the rest of this year, that's another good question. This isn't a year that we would refer to typically as an election year, but we do have various vacancies that need to be filled. There's some local elections that will happen throughout California. So depending on when they happen, if they happen during this year, those elections will be furnished with vote by mail ballots for everyone that participates in those elections. So there are some legislative vacancies that will have special elections, and there is a possibility that there will be an election, a recall election for the governor, depending on when or how that eventually qualifies for the ballot. Now, that process is kind of long, and a lot of questions come up about, well, when will that happen and how does it happen? Well, it is kind of complicated in terms of especially the timing of it, and the short answer is that no date has been set for that yet, and that there's more process that has to take place, confirming signatures, counting all that, etc., before they can even set a date for an election. So that hasn't happened yet, so there's no date. But stay tuned, and there will be more information on that. So back to legislation. If the California Legislature is moving on legislation, so if there are specific issues that are a concern to you, I would encourage you to connect with those people or groups that inform you on those issues, because I know over the last year it seemed like everything sort of slowed down and activity on legislative issues sort of died out. But the California State Legislature is in full swing. They are scheduling bills for hearings and moving forward with things. So if you are interested in issues, get engaged on those issues. Again, make your contacts with who's going to be providing you information on them. And if it's on private homeschooling, I would encourage you to make sure that you're on our email list. You can do that at fpmca.org. That's fpmca.org on our website. Get on our email list and make sure that you are getting the latest information, because if something does come up, and things can happen very quickly, we want to make sure that we're on top of it and we have connections with you so that you can take action on any legislation that would impact private homeschooling. So all that aside, I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.